Welcome to Gold Medal Business, the place to be if you're a children's activity and sport entrepreneur who is serious about growing and scaling your business to six-figure success and beyond. We talk growing your team, growing your students and your venues, and so much more. I'm Katie Cannon, former 5 times British gymnastics champion turned 7-figure entrepreneur. Are you ready to get started? Let's grow your business. Today, we're going to be sharing with you how to overcome your challenges. Now, the first one I want to share with you, and when I look back at my journey of being an entrepreneur for the last 20 years, I look back at my story and I'm like, wow, I'm going to share a little bit of stories with you in a minute, but I look back and I think, if I had known, hindsight's a wonderful thing, hence why I started Gold Medal Business in the first place. But my goodness, I would have made some very different decisions with the knowledge I know now back then. But I said, that's all part of growth. That's all part of growing up. And that's all part of learning. So number one, I want to share with you is I want you to don't quit to avoid the challenges. Otherwise, they end up coming back to you again and again and again. And what I mean by that, often in entrepreneurship and life, to be honest, we have a challenge, don't we? We come a challenge, we're like, it's not working. I can't do it. I can't overcome this challenge. It's not making money. The team's not working. I don't have the energy for this. This is exhausting. Whatever excuse we have in our mind. Now, when I was preparing this episode for you, it came off the back of having a conversation with my 9-year-old daughter. So Amelie is 9. She's doing gymnastics. She's very good. And we've, absolutely over the last 2 years have had many ups and downs where sometimes, quite frankly, I'm thinking, I can see you've got the talent, but I don't know if you've got the mindset. She's now starting to prove me wrong, which I absolutely love, because about a year ago, she was going through the stage of, I wanting to quit, mummy. I want to quit, mummy. We were having multiple times of her coming home after training, being upset, or going into training like this. I don't want to go in today. I'm tired. Do I have to go? And we said to her, gonna go for the next 6 months. If you still don't enjoy it and you're like, I want to quit in those 6 months' time, then absolutely fine. Gymnastics is not your sport. Let's try something else. But you're not going to quit on a bad day, because the reality was she was having days where she was loving it and days where she was just just tired. I want to watch the TV. I just want to chill out. And we're like, you're not going to quit on a bad day. And now fast forward a year, she's really got that into our mindset and is able as a 9-year-old to understand how to actually overcome that and how to get herself out of that brain fog and to actually, that push through that we all know we've got to do. And it took so many conversations of, mummy and daddy sometimes don't want to do this, but we've got to do it. There are times when, I love my businesses. I love working, but absolutely there's days when I feel tired. There's days that are up. There's days that are down. That's business. That's life. So it's learning these skills as an entrepreneur that you would have in your day-to-day life. And I really believe once you really work through this, and this is why I'm so passionate, if you've been following our community for a while, why I'm so passionate about the entrepreneur, business, athlete mindset and really building, whether you've done sport to any level, it doesn't matter what level you were. It's so important because it really teaches you that discipline, that persistence, that tenacity. Wow, it's powerful. So I want you to relate that to business. Don't quit to avoid a challenge. Rather than you're looking at it being solution driven. Your whole role as an entrepreneur is being able to push when it gets hard. It's being able to push through the challenges. It's being able to go through challenges and look, okay, do you know what? I might have a block. What's the solution? What's a different path? How can I overcome this challenge? Rather than letting it stop you. And then you throw your toys out the pram. You're like, that's it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Now, I'll tell you a story. I was in one of my businesses. I had a network marketing company, and it was around sort of 4 or 5 years ago. I made this decision, and at the time, it was a hard time because it was COVID. So when I look back and I'm thinking, do you know what? If it was a normal world we were living in at that time, I probably would have made the decision slightly different. But at the time, as we know, I had gyms that were running that were not doing that well because of the COVID times. I needed a lot of my businesses for me to be stepping in and almost going back to basics to pull them all up again to where we were prior COVID. As we know in the world, it was a very weird time. I had 2 young children at home. Emily was 4 and Ashton was 1 in COVID. So the difference from stress at home to the stress in the workplace and trying to pull things together whilst having the kids all at home, exhausting. And I remember making this decision. It was like May, June. It was like July 2020. Yeah, 2020, which feels ages ago now, doesn't it? Madness. Such weird times. When I'm telling the story, I'm like reliving it. And I made a decision to stop my network marketing company because I had to step in and bring everything up. Now, there was a lot of challenges at that point. And looking back now, I wish I hadn't made that decision. I wish I had fought through and found a solution and not stopped at the hurdles. But as I said, not to put it as an excuse, but I do think there was a lot of other factors that contributed to that, because of where I was mentally at the time and the physicalness and the emotion to be honest, I had zero emotional capacity at that point. So that was one example. Looking back in the very early days of building my gyms, the very early days, I made some decisions kind of 5 or 6 years in. Maybe we stopped a venue. Maybe we stopped working with a member of team. And looking back now, I'm like, I would have given it longer. I would have tried this strategy. I would have implemented this with them. I would have put in a different plan. Did we try hard enough? But I feel like I quit too early on, where now with the tool belt and the tools that I've got and the skills, I can then push through. So it's always a learning curve, as we know. So number one, I want you to learn to not quit when you avoid challenges, because your number one job as a CEO and an entrepreneur is to be solution driven and to work your way out of issues and problems. Number two, when you're in that moment and you're facing a challenge, when you're in that moment, that is your chance to rise above in your leadership. We can't see it at the time because we're so absorbed and we're so in it, but that is our time to rise above our leadership. That's a time to grow. We all know when it gets hard and you feel like you're in a bit of a storm, you know you're on the edge of growing. And it's being able to, that's your challenge. That is your business going, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want this fight through? That is your chance to really go through the challenge and rise above. You will then see your leadership grow, your personality grow, your tenacity grow, and you will grow in many different areas of your business. So number one is don't quit to avoiding challenges. Number two, I want you to learn to rise above your leadership. And when there's challenges, that's your opportunity for your next level of growth. Number three, I want you to always think of how can you go a layer deep. Now, this is really resonating with different categories of your leadership. So when you're in this place, this is just your leadership testing you, as I said, going to the next level each time. So I want you to always look at how you're dealing with a situation, how you're dealing with maybe one of your members of staff, whether it's instructor, whether it's a center manager, whether it's a freelancer just teaching a couple of classes a week. I always want you to think, how can you go a layer deep into your leadership? How can you go a layer deep and think, okay, this is how rather than be almost hot-headed, I almost sort of think, take a step back, think, okay, this is how I normally would deal with this. Today, I'm going to try and approach it in this way, with this mindset. Because when you start thinking like that, taking that step back and thinking, okay, how can I go deeper into this? How can I bring out what I normally wouldn't do? I'm going to use my experience, but I'm also going to use my growth and what I've learned to take me to that next level and to implement something different that I may not have normally done if I'm not really thinking deep. So, overcoming your challenges can absolutely done. Remember, Rome is not built in a day. It's something that is built daily. And when you look back, I never forget my mentor sharing this with me years ago. He said, what pushes you today will be easy in a year's time. I've seen this on Instagram so many times, like 10 press ups today will be easy in a week's time. Same thing. When you start going to the gym, it's hard. Then it becomes easy. Same with business. What stretches you today? What mentally pushes you today? What you feel, it's a bit like, you can say it in terms of income and expenses. And I remember my first business loan was like 10 grand. As a 22-year-old, that was a lot of money. But now, if I went and got a 200K business loan, I wouldn't think twice because I know how to manage it. I know how to make the money back from that. So it's all about your stretchingness. You're stretching your challenges, you're stretching your leadership, you're stretching your decisions. And when you can really build like that, and you're on that skinny comfort branch, you're on the edge, this is feeling a bit shaky. I always say this to people when they're investing in our mentorship programs. I'm like, you are going to feel a little bit shaky. I want you to feel like, oh my gosh, this is a big commitment. Great. Absolutely. Because you know how much, you know the results you're going to get out of it. When you know it's an investment in your time, in resources, you will put every ounce of effort to really grow in your business. So when you are feeling uncomfortable about any decision in your business, and when you're feeling like anything that's pushing you, whether it's a challenge, whether it's a decision, whatever it is, you're in the right place because you want to spend every day in your business feeling uncomfortable. Because when you're doing that, you are growing. And if you can grow at that rate, you will explode your business in the next 12 months. As opposed to being comfortable, that we all like to be, but it's a dangerous place within your business. So I want you to invite you, if you want to get uncomfortable and you want to start to learn how to overcome these challenges, so we can get you onto a growth specialist call with myself and my team, where we can really support you to grow in scaling your team, your cash flow, your profitability, whatever area of your business that you are focusing on at this minute, and make sure you're feeling uncomfortable every single day in your business, because that's exactly how you're going to grow. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you've enjoyed and you've really got some great benefits, please share with someone you know or someone in the children's activity space to really support them in their growth as a children's activity entrepreneur. Please hit subscribe so we can hit more people and get more great value to them. Thank you so much for being part of our community. It's an honor each week to train and nurture you, and I cannot wait to hear all of your great business successes.